Today we are talking about club quality. Club quality is so important because I believe we all want to be in a high quality Toastmasters club, right? I've never heard anyone say, you know, my club has too much quality. This year, we're going to work on lowering our club quality. But when we talk about quality, what does quality mean? The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines quality simply as the degree of excellence. In other words, a high quality Toastmasters club has a high degree of excellence, whereas a low quality club has, well, problems. Steve Jobs said, be a yardstick of quality. He went on to say, some people are not used to being in an environment where excellence is expected. I believe we need to make every Toastmasters club an environment where excellence is expected and delivered. And that's why we are focusing on club quality today. I do have a full agenda for today, so I would ask that you please hold your questions to the end. Here is our agenda for the day. We're going to talk about your role as an officer, but also knowing the other officer roles as well. It's important that we understand member value. We'll talk about moments of truth, the club success plan, and club management, where I will give you some tools and resources to help you as an officer in your club. When I get to this point, I'm going to be giving you a number of links, but you don't need to copy them all down. I would ask our tech master, John, please go ahead and put the presentation into the chat area now. This presentation that's going into the chat area, it is a PDF file, so it's smaller and easier to download. The links in the PDF file are active, and I tested them all out. They do work. I noticed, though, depending on your version of Adobe Acrobat, when you first open the file, if you immediately try to start a link, you may have a problem. So give it a few seconds after opening the file before you start and try to click on one of the links. And then very briefly, I am going to touch on pathways. Obviously, it is important that you understand and know your specific officer role. But you also need to be familiar with all of the other officer roles as well. This is because the officers are integrated and work together as a team. Also, you may be called on at some time to fill in for one of the other officers. For example, if the president is not at a meeting, another officer needs to fill in as the presiding officer. Usually this is the VP Education, but it can be any officer. Or, for example, if the VP membership is not at a meeting and a guest shows up, someone needs to take over for the VP membership and talk to the guest, give them information about the club, ask them to join, give them an application form, and perhaps help them fill out the application form. This is why every officer needs to be familiar with the application form and know how to fill it out. To help you learn about each of the other officer roles, Toastmasters International published a series of articles in the TI magazine back in 2021-2022. There's a link in the PDF in the chat area, so go out there and take some time reading these articles. They're fairly short and brief, but there's good information. And I'll also show you where you can find some information about the officer roles on the Toastmasters website. It is critical that we understand where members in Toastmasters find value. The main place our members find value is in the club experience. And this is why I'm saying we need to make the club experience an environment of excellence. Because when our members see the value in the club and in Toastmasters, they stay in the club. But as soon as they find they aren't getting value out of it, that's when they leave the club. Maybe they go to another club, but usually they just leave Toastmasters altogether. And once a person leaves Toastmasters, They rarely, if ever, come back. I've only seen a handful of people come back. Club quality then starts with the club officers who are responsible for the leadership and the planning in the club and recognition of the members. This leads to club quality, where every member feels supported. And a quality club is going to have A plus meetings, not settling for B minus meetings. Every meeting needs to be A plus. And then this brings motivation to all of the members. When we have club quality, this then leads to the value. Our members see that every meeting is a learning lab. It's an opportunity to learn about and develop and practice leadership and communication skills. It is self-paced, so members can go at their own pace, but sometimes we need to nudge some of the members a little bit because the faster they move, the sooner they will see the value that they're getting out of Toastmasters. And this certainly happened to me. When I started Toastmasters, I was nervous. I didn't want to get up and speak in front of people. But once I started doing it and I saw the value, I wanted more. So I started moving faster, speaking more often. I looked outside the club and I found value in speech contests, which helped me develop my speaking skills. And I found district leadership roles, which helped me develop my leadership roles. So we need to nudge some of our members. Feedback is a critical part of our members finding value. This means every speech evaluation needs to give the speaker value. It's right there in the word, evaluation. Sure, we want to be positive and supportive, tell the speaker what they did well, that is important. But we also need to be honest and give them some feedback and recommendations of what they can do better for their future speeches. And finally, we all need mentors, especially new members, but all members need mentors. We need someone we can go to, ask questions, and seek guidance. If your club doesn't have a mentor program, this is a good year to start one. Okay, I've talked about what club quality is, why it's important, but how do we assess the quality in our own club? We can do this through moments of truth. And some of you may have just gone, what? What is moments of truth? It sounds ominous, I know, but moments of truth is any time a person interacts with Toastmasters, whether it's a guest attending a meeting for the first time, or just a regular member attending a regular meeting, that person forms opinions, and based on their opinions, they make decisions, good or bad. For example, that guest attending the meeting for the first time, they definitely form opinions about your club and about Toastmasters. And based on those opinions, they make a decision after that meeting, either to join the club, look for another club, or just give up on Toastmasters. Likewise, every time a member attends a regular meeting, subconsciously we do form opinions about that meeting and about our club. And sooner or later, the member makes decisions, usually at dues renewal time, when we have to say, are we getting enough value out of this to continue in the club? These critical moments when people form opinions about Toastmasters and make decisions are called moments of truth. Toastmasters has looked at this and they've determined 6 areas or categories that they call criteria related to moments of truth. The first criteria is first impressions. This is when a guest attends the meeting. We need to make sure that the sergeant at arms recognizes there's a guest at the meeting and then introduces them to the other members. Sergeant at arms also introduce that guest to the VP membership, so the VP membership can tell them information about the club, give them an information packet if you have one, and then introduce them to the president. President should introduce the guest during the meeting and at some point maybe ask them a little about themselves and comments on the meeting. The second criteria is membership orientation. Once we bring a new member into the club, we need to get them oriented to the club. This is usually the role of the VP Education, who sits down with them, explains about the Toastmasters meetings, the meeting roles, how roles are assigned, and gets them started in pathways. The third criteria is fellowship, variety, and communication. Every meeting needs to be fun, enjoyable, supportive, as well as productive. This leads to fellowship, and all the officers are responsible for this. We also need to add a little variety, and this is part of the role of the VP Education. You might also schedule some events outside of your club when you have a better opportunity for fellowship to find out about your fellow members. And we need communication. We are a communication organization, but sometimes I see we lack communications in our club. The fourth criteria is program planning and meeting organization. Every meeting needs to be well planned in advance. This starts usually with the VP Education scheduling the meeting and assigning the roles or finding volunteers for the roles. These assignments need to be sent out well in advance so the members are prepared when they get to the meeting. I recommend assigning the roles up to 4 meetings in advance so people have time, especially the speakers. Meetings need to be well organized. As Lance Miller, 2005 world champion of public speaking, often tells us, every meeting needs to start on time, end on time, and make sure that everything in between is not a waste of time. The president, I feel, has a really important role in starting the meeting. They need to start that meeting with energy and enthusiasm because that sets the tone for the meeting and hopefully it carries out through the rest of the meeting. The fifth criteria is membership strength. We know Toastmasters tells us a strong club has at least 20 members. This is because not all of the members are going to attend every meeting. If you have 20 members or more in your club, you'll only get maybe 10 to 15 members attending each meeting, and they tend to be different members as well. And that's a good number. That means all the roles are going to be filled, and some of the members will be able to sit back a little bit and not have a role. If your membership starts dropping down to 15 or less, now you may only get 8 or 9 members at a meeting. That means every member at that meeting is going to have a role, and some of them are going to have to double up and take on at least a couple of roles. This just starts putting more pressure on all of the members. This is why we want to focus on our current members, show them the value, and make sure we are giving A+ meetings so they stay in the club. But we also have to bring in new members, and this is the role of VP Public Relations to promote the club and bring in some guests so we can hopefully pick up some new members. And then finally, we all like to be recognized for our achievements. This can be as simple as the president or the VP Education recognizing a member at a meeting after they've completed a level or a path, or especially a Distinguished Toastmaster Award. I recommend, though, you also recognize achievements of your members maybe outside of Toastmasters. This then is moments of truth and the 6 criteria, but how do we use this information? Especially, how do we use it to assess the quality in our club? Toastmasters has put together a module they call Moments of Truth. I'll show you where you can download this off of the Toastmasters website. It's free of charge. And when you download it, what you will get is a PowerPoint presentation, a manual that explains the process of conducting a Moments of Truth session, and a worksheet, which you will use during the Moments of Truth session. Doing a Moments of Truth at a club meeting takes at least an hour. So if your meeting is 1 hour, it's going to take the entire meeting. You need to plan accordingly. At the beginning of the meeting, one person will give the presentation using the PowerPoint presentation, which explains each of these 6 criteria in a little more detail than I went into. Now, anyone in the club can present and lead the Moments of Truth session, but usually you want someone who is familiar with Moments of Truth. This is often a club officer Or you can even invite your area director, maybe your division director, to come in and present the moments of truth to the club. After the presentation, which takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes, then you break the group out into smaller groups, ideally 6 groups, because each group is going to be asked and assigned to discuss one of these 6 criteria. Now you need 2 or 3 people in each group. So with 6 criteria, 2 or 3 people, that means you need 12 to 18 people at that meeting in order for this to work. But if you have less people than 12 to 18, you can just cut down the number of groups and maybe do 3 groups where each group is then assigned 2 of the criteria to evaluate. I recommend also when you do this that in this meeting, it's either all online or it's all in person. Because when you break out into the groups, if you're in person, then you just break out into small groups around the room. If you're online, then you use the breakout rooms in Zoom. So make sure you know how to use the breakout rooms ahead of time. You can do it in a hybrid meeting, but it's a little more challenging. You have to plan, make sure how you're going to split out those groups, some in person, some online. Once you've broken out into the small groups, again, each group is assigned either 1 or 2 criteria to discuss and evaluate. And the group will then have a handout, and on the handout, it has the criteria that they're discussing. For each criteria, there are about 6 standards related to that criteria. And the group will rate each of those standards on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being high, 1 being low. Any standard that they rate a 3 or lower, then there's an area on the worksheet where they will talk about and write down why the club isn't meeting that standard. And there's another box on the worksheet where they will discuss and write in suggestions how the club can start meeting that standard. For example, under first impressions, one of the standards is, are guests warmly greeted and introduced to all of the members? So you'd rate that 1 to 5. If it's 3 or lower, you need to discuss why that's not happening and how you can improve to make that happen. At the end of a set period of time, maybe 15, 20 minutes, the small groups come back together as the large group. And now each group will present their findings on their particular criteria and standards. During this time, the whole group is invited to also make comments and suggestions. It's important at this time that the club secretary is there taking notes. If the secretary is not there, someone else needs to be assigned to take the notes. After the meeting, soon after the meeting, I would say, the executive committee needs to meet, look at the handouts, and go through to see what are the most important and critical criteria and standards to work on first. If you have a lot of things you need to work on, don't get overwhelmed with it. Just pick out the top 1 or 2. Work on those first, and once that's improved, then you can work down the list. Toastmasters International thinks Moments of Truth is so important that they tell us every club should be doing a Moments of Truth once a year. And this year, Founders District is really pushing this as well. We want every club to do a Moments of Truth this year. And initially, when I was putting together the presentation, I thought, okay, a good time to do this is probably July. It's the start of the Toastmasters year. But then I realized July and August, people are on vacation, attendance is low. You want a good attendance at this meeting. So now I'm recommending perhaps do it at a meeting early in September, and that's what I'm planning for my clubs. There's also a club quality checklist that is related to the Moments of Truth. John, I would ask if you could go ahead and put the checklist into the chat area now, and you can put the presentation in the chat area too in case some people came in late. The checklist is a list of 49 questions, and you just answer yes or no. There's also a link here in the presentation if you want to get this later. There's a number of ways you can use this checklist. One is the executive committee, the officers, when they get together, could just sit down, go through the checklist and answer yes or no to the questions and figure out where there's areas they need to improve on. Or you can send this checklist out to all of the members, ask them to fill it out, send it back to the president, and then at the next executive committee meeting, the president and the officers would review the lists and figure out again where there's areas you need to work on. The third way of using this that I've heard some clubs do is to use it for the general evaluator during their part of the meeting. Now, there's too many questions. 49 questions are too many, and some of them aren't related to the meeting. So what I would recommend if you're going to do this is that the general evaluator would just look at the first 19 questions that are related to club meetings. I'm only showing the first 8, so it's a little larger. You can see what they are. But they're things like, does the meeting follow the agenda? Yes or no? So it's easy for the general evaluator to just go check these off. When the general evaluator is called on to give their report, then they just go down the list, only pick out the ones where they checked no to give these as areas that the club needs to work on and improve. Going back then to the value that our members find in the club experience. Remember I said that the club quality starts with the club officers and it starts with planning. And I feel, unfortunately, we don't do enough planning in our clubs. As Benjamin Franklin famously said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, if Benjamin Franklin was in Toastmasters today, I am sure that he would say, if you don't have a club success plan, you don't plan to have club success. And here in this picture, we see Benjamin Franklin. He is studying his club's club success plan. And you notice that it's on a piece of paper, maybe it's parchment. He probably filled it out with his quill pen and ink. This is the old-fashioned way of doing it. And this was the way we were doing it up until a couple years ago, where we were expected to download the club success plan and fill it out and then do something with it. But if we filled it out, we put it aside, we never saw it again. So I think most of us didn't do that. We're now in the 21st century. So now we can do the club success plan online. I'm not sure when this started. I think it was in 2022, but I just found out about this last year, 2023. This may be new to some of you as well. To do the club success plan online, you first need to log in on the Toastmasters website. And if you are an officer, then you will see a tab that says Club Central. When you click on that, it takes you to Club Central. If you are a club officer, you need to become familiar with Club Central. And there is a lot of information and things you can do in Club Central. If you're just starting out, though, you want to learn the basics, there are tutorials, and this is a link right up here that you can click on to the Club Central tutorials. Going down, though, you see there's an item, Club Success Plan. Click on that. And now in July, what you're going to see is 2 options. The recommended option is online interactive, but they do give you the option to do it offline PDF if maybe you have Benjamin Franklin in your club and he doesn't have access to the internet. Otherwise, though, I don't know why you wouldn't do this online. And as we scroll down, you'll see it lists out the benefits of each. Now, there is a statement here that says the executive committee needs to decide together which option they are going to choose. So that should be done at the first executive committee meeting here, hopefully in July. When we zoom in, though, we see that there are benefits listed for both. And the first 3 benefits are the same. There is a real-time checkpoint for all officers to access, because even if you do this offline in a PDF format, you can upload it to Club Central where the officers can still go in online and look at it, but you still got this hard copy you're dealing with. And even if you do it online, you can still, if you have documents or forms you fill out, you can still upload those as well. But here's where we get to the benefits for doing it online. There's a visual tracker. As you go through the year, you will see a gauge, and I'm going to talk about the Distinguished Club Program here in a moment, but it shows you how you're doing in the Distinguished Club Program. And then the next item, this I think is one of the the most important reasons to do it online is the ability to add tasks as an action plan and then monitor the progress. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment. But to me, that's important because you can set up this action plan with to-dos and people who are assigned, and then you can monitor that. All right, so once the executive committee makes the decision, you just make that once, and once you make your selection, you're not going to see those two boxes again. The next time it comes up, it'll be the club success plan, and at some point, you'll start to see this gauge on how you're doing in the Distinguished Club program. As you scroll down, though, then you will see there's two tabs. This is the action item list. This is the one I'm excited about because as you go through your club success plan and you fill out the different areas, you can assign action items to various officers with dates when they are due. And then you can monitor this. So I would recommend at each executive committee meeting, go in here and look at how you're doing to see, are there any overdue items? Are there any items that are coming up? And then you can look to see who the owner is, follow up with them to see how they're doing. Going back then to the other tab, which is the plan, here you will see a number of different categories that you work through these. You edit each one of these and you fill them out. It's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. The first item is the committee values. And if you can't come up with specific values for your committee, just go with the Toastmasters core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. We all need to follow those values anyway, and especially our officers need to follow it. But then when we look at the next four categories that I've highlighted, you'll see administration, training, this is officer training, membership, and education. If you are familiar with the Distinguished Club program, these four categories may sound familiar because these are the four categories that the 10 DCP goals are broken out into. So as you go through the club success plan and you work through, you're actually working on also how you're going to meet the goals for the Distinguished Club program. And that's what I'm going to talk about next, the Distinguished Club program. If you're not familiar with the Distinguished Club program, often just referred to as DCP, this is a gauge of your club's quality throughout the year. It's a quick and easy way to see how your club is doing. And the Distinguished Club program is a program that Toastmasters challenges every club to meet 10 goals every year. If a club completes 5 of the goals, they are distinguished. If the club completes 7, they are recognized as Select Distinguished. And if they complete 9 or 10, then they are recognized as a President's Distinguished Club. This is important because a quality club will be a distinguished club. And vice versa. If you are reaching a distinguished club status, that means you are a quality club because you have to do that in order to complete these goals. The goals, as I mentioned, are broken out into the 4 categories. The first category is education. Goal number 1 is 4 level 1 awards. Education program in Pathways, we know in Toastmasters is Pathways. So these are related to completing levels in Pathways. Goal number 2 is 2 level 2 awards in Pathways. Goal number 3, 2 more level 2 awards. So that's a total of 4 level 2 awards. Goal number 4 is 2 level 3 awards. Goal number 5 is 1 level 4 or a level 5 or a DTM award. Goal number 6 is 1 more level 4, a level 5, or a DTM award. Those are the education goals. Next, we have the membership goals. The first goal is goal number 7, 4 new dual or reinstating members. Note that if a member transfers from another club into your club, you don't get credit toward this goal. It does help your membership strength, but you don't get credit toward the goal. And goal number 8 is 4 more new dual or reinstating members. That's a total of 8 members that we are trying to bring into our club each year. I know that seems like a lot, But Toastmasters tells us, and they've seen this over the year, and I can tell you this is true. Every club loses about 30% of its members every year. And this is why when we're looking at moments of truth, we're focusing on membership strength. We need to constantly be bringing in new members. The next category is the officer training. This is goal number 9. A minimum of 4 club officer roles trained during each of the 2 training periods. We're in the current training period is the first training period, which started in June, runs through August. Second training period starts in December, runs through February. So you need 4 officer roles trained now, and then 4 officer roles trained again in December through February. That's not enough. A quality club will have all 7 officers trained. Yes, you need only 4 to meet this goal, but a quality club will have 7 officers trained. Bob Hudak, past district governor, told me many years ago, why would you ever want to be in a club where not all the officers had attended training? And I think he's right. The district provides so many opportunities for officers to attend training, not just here at Lace, but then there will be some sessions that each of the divisions are going to do. So there's no reason officers can't attend training. And the final category is administration. This is goal number 10. There's 2 parts to goal number 10. First is the on-time payment of the membership dues. This is the first dues period is in September. We want to get all the dues paid before the end of September. You need 8 to be a club in good standing, but a quality club is going to have all of the members renewed before the end of September and again before the end of March. The second half of this goal is 1 submission of a club officer list in Club Central. This is the responsibility of the secretary, but any officer can do it. If your club elects officers for 1 year and you didn't get the officer list into Club Central in June, you missed this goal. Hopefully everyone already did this. Now, if your club meets weekly, then you have the opportunity to elect officers for a 6-month term. In which case you would have elected officers for July through December. And in December, you would elect officers again for January through June. And in that case only, you have the opportunity to go in and put in your officer list in December if you missed it in June. The other reason, though, the officer list needs to be up to date right now, today, is that any officer attending this training today, for them to get credit for their officer training, they need to be listed in Club Central as the officer in that role. So double check your officer list. This is the Distinguished Club Program document that we used to download from Founders District. And I would ask John, you can go ahead and put this into the chat area, or you can also follow the link here, go to the foundersdistrict.org website and download it and fill it out. But why? Just do it in the Club Success Plan online. All right, once we have our goals, we're planned how we're going to meet the goals during the year, we need to monitor how we're doing. And there's many ways you can get to this dashboard, but to me, this is the quickest, easiest, because you don't have to log on to the Toastmasters website. Just go to the website, click on membership, then under membership, click on Leadership Central, and then you will see the Distinguished Performance Reports. When you click on that, it takes you to the dashboard where in the upper left-hand corner under Club Search, put in your club number or name and click on Search. Here you see your report card of how you're doing. In the upper right-hand corner, you see the goals that your club has met. So in this case, 8 goals. And that would mean this is a select distinguished goal at this time when I took the screenshot. Down below, it quickly shows you how you're doing on each of the goals. Any goal with a check mark, you've already completed that goal. Where there isn't a check mark, it tells you exactly what you need to do to meet that goal. So in this case, we needed 2 level 2 awards, or we needed 1 new member. There is a box here in the middle that says membership, and this is the membership qualification. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but I would tell you that it tells you how many members you need. If you started with a base of 20 or more, you need to end the year with 20 or more. If you started with less than 20 members in July, then you need to either get back up over 20 members or have a net increase of a certain number of members. In this past year, it was a net increase of 3, but that was due to the pandemic. And our understanding is that it may go back up to a net increase of 5 new members this year. We'll find out at the convention in August. All right, now I want to give you some tools to help you manage your club. And the first one, your go-to guide, is the Club Leadership Handbook. John, if you go ahead and put a copy of that into the chat area, you can download it if you don't have a copy of this. When I attended training many years ago, the instructor said, I can teach you everything you need to know to be successful in just 3 words. Read the manual. I discovered he was wrong. It takes 6 words. Read the manual and follow it. You have to do both parts. It's good to read it, but then you have to follow it and periodically refer back to it. When you do, you will see that it covers the governance of the club, district structure. There's a timeline in the handbook that tells you certain tasks that need to be done at certain times during the year. This is only useful, though, if you periodically go back and look at this timeline in the handbook. Or you can also look at these tasks that you set up in your club success plan. It covers each of the officer roles, but as I said, you need to be familiar with all of the roles, so read all of the officer roles. It explains the Distinguished Club program in more detail than I went into, and it gives you information about pathways. Tells you about the club finances. This is the role of the treasurer, but every officer needs to understand how the finances work in the club. And then there's a section on club events for the officer elections, the officer installation, and speech contests, which will be coming up starting early into 2025. This is your go-to guide, but there are other resources that I think some officers are not familiar with, and I want to show you where these are now. This is the Club Officer Tools page on the Toastmasters website. So you need to log in as a club officer and then click on Membership, Leadership Central, and then as an officer, you will have this tile for Club Officer Tools. Click on that, takes you to the Club Officer Tools. The first item here is the leader letter. Every month, Toastmasters International sends out a letter to the club officers with good information that you need to know about what's happening that month and what's coming up. Now, the email they send, it's just a link. So if you can't find that email, you can always just go in here, click on this link. It will show you the current leader letter, and there's an archive so you can look at the past letters. There's really good tips in here too. Did you know you can download an evaluation form for any of the Pathways projects without ever going to Basecamp? You can just do it right on the Toastmasters website without logging in. Look at the June leader letter to see how to do that. All right, then the next item is club officer roles. This is a link to where you can see information about each of the officer roles, and there are tutorial videos here you can watch. There's also a self-evaluation if you want to take an evaluation maybe partway through the year, see how you're doing. Under the club officer kit, this is again where you can get to the leadership handbook. I recommend reading the leadership handbook online rather than downloading it, because once you download it, you may not have the latest version if they update it online. There's a section on the Distinguished Club program as well as the Club Success Plan. And then here is a speech contest rule book, which is really important for VP education when you start putting on your club contest and all contestants. Under the club management, the first item is the new member orientation. When you click on this, it takes you to a page where you can download a PowerPoint presentation. This is especially good for the VP education. I started using this about 3 years ago when I'm doing a new member orientation. The PowerPoint is modifiable, so you can put in information about your club and you can add or change slides. Under club quality, when you click on this, it's a link. And this takes you to the club quality resources page. There are many resources here for you. Spend some time becoming familiar with them. I'm only going to point out a few. The first one is the Successful Club series. This is a series of 10 educational briefs that are free. You can download them from this link here. And each one is a presentation that you can give in your club, covering a wide range of topics such as meeting roles, evaluations, going outside the club. The next item is Moments of Truth. This is the link to where you can download the PowerPoint presentation, the handbook, and the worksheets for Moments of Truth. I will warn you, this link doesn't work right now. I've contacted Toastmasters about this and they still haven't fixed it. But to help you out, there is this link that I put into the PDF in the chat. This link will take you to the page where you can just download what you need for Moments of Truth. Master Your Meetings is a really good document that I just discovered recently, and it has good information about how to conduct quality meetings. There's information about some ideas for themes for your meetings and table topics, questions, and how to change up your meetings. Look at this document. This one is a Toastmasters Wears Many Hats. It's a PDF file that you can click on the link here, download the document, and give it to your new members, because this document explains in good detail about each of the meeting roles in a standard Toastmasters meeting. And then here again, you can get to the club success plan. When you scroll down on this club officers list, it takes you to the club officer resources. And a lot of these are duplicates, so I'm not really going to talk about this, but take a look at it and see if there's anything you need here. Here is again where you can get to the handbook, or you can get to the Distinguished Club Program or the Club Success Plan. Pathways is the educational value in Toastmasters. And I know there are still people who aren't happy with pathways. I will tell you this. I can guarantee you, you will get as much out of Pathways as you put into Pathways. Encourage your members to really spend the time to read each project in Pathways. Understand the information in that project and the objectives of the project. And then when you work through that project and you give the speech, make sure you're meeting the objectives of the project. There is value in Pathways. This is why we want all of our members enrolled, and not just enrolled, but working through the program in Pathways. And we want all new members to be enrolled into Pathways within about the first 2 weeks. In this short amount of time, I can't give you much help with Pathways, but here's the one thing I can give you that has helped me and I think will help you is this link that is in the presentation in the chat. If you click on this link, it takes you to the page where there are Basecamp videos. There's 3 basic videos. The first one is just on the home page in Basecamp. Next one is on accessing your path. And the third one is on launching a project. This is especially good for new members. I would give this link to the new members so they can just get started in Pathways. But then there's more. Up here, it's hidden. I don't know why, but this is actually a link. It says, visit this playlist. When you click on the link, it takes you to a YouTube page where there are 23 videos covering a wide variety of Basecamp tutorials. Now, not all of these tutorials may be useful for you, but go through the list and see which ones are. They're quick and easy to look at. Most of them are only 2 to 3 minutes long. Two that are really important, and you maybe want to send these to your new members as well, is this one on completing a project. Because I still see members in my club, I know they did all the work to complete the project, but it's still not showing as completed. And it's because they don't understand how to complete the project. And the next thing is, once they've completed the projects in a level, they don't know how to complete the level. So they're not getting credit for having completed that level. And in this case, I just send them the links to these videos. I know I have covered a lot of information here, but I hope you will have some takeaways that you can take back and make your club a high quality club. We want to create this environment where everyone in the club is expecting excellence out of that club, and the club is delivering excellence. When we do this, we are providing our members value, and the members will see the value and stay in the club. Use moments of truth as a way to assess your club's quality, and do that once a year. And then plan for success using the club success plan. I recommend doing it online. Use the Distinguished Club program as a way to gauge how your club is doing throughout the year. Now, starting out, you'll have 0 goals completed, probably. So the needle's gonna be at 0. But as the year, you want to see that needle going up so that by December, hopefully the needle's at the halfway point. You want to be 5 goals completed. So you only have to concentrate on 5 more goals in the second half of the year. And let's get all members in Pathways and working in Pathways. You will get as much out of Pathways as you put into it. Finally, Aristotle said, quality is not an act, it is a habit. With that, I am going to open it up for questions.